The massive gates of the Dragon King's fortress stood taller than any building Marcus had ever seen. Made from black metal that seemed to absorb light, they opened with a grinding sound that shook the ground beneath his feet. Marcus, a 17-year-old stable boy from Earth's colony ship Horizon, clutched the leather bag containing his only possessions and stepped forward. Around him, other challengers from across the galaxy waited their turn. There was Cathara, a warrior from the silicon-based crystalline species, her body reflecting rainbow colors in the alien sun. Next to her stood Flux, a shapeshifter from the Nebula Confederation, constantly shifting between forms. Behind them, dozens more beings from different worlds, all here for the same reason. The Dragon King had sent his challenge across the stars 6 months ago. Any being who could complete his trial would receive the location of the ancient vault, a treasure trove of technology that could save dying civilizations or destroy thriving ones. Marcus's colony needed that technology. Their terraforming equipment was failing, and without new tech, 50,000 humans would die within a year. Marcus hadn't planned to come here. He was just a stable boy who took care of the colony's horses, one of the few Earth animals they'd managed to bring to the stars. But when the colony's chosen champion fell ill with radiation sickness, and no one else would volunteer, Marcus had stepped forward. Someone had to try. A mechanical servant, built from the same black metal as the gates, approached the group. Its voice echoed like grinding gears. "The Dragon King will see you now. Follow me. Do not stray from the path. Those who wander are never seen again." They walked through corridors that defied physics. Walls curved impossibly, and stairs led both up and down at the same time. Marcus noticed that some of the other challengers were already struggling. A tentacled being from Proxima stumbled, one of its appendages briefly touching a wall. The being vanished instantly, leaving only a faint smell of ozone. The others pressed closer to the center of the path. Finally, they reached the throne room. Marcus had expected something grand, but the reality exceeded all imagination. The room was a sphere, with no clear floor or ceiling. Stars wheeled overhead, below, and on all sides, as if they stood in the center of space itself. And there, floating in the middle of it all, was the Dragon King. He wasn't what Marcus had expected. Instead of scales and wings, the Dragon King appeared to be made of living starlight. His form shifted and flowed, sometimes serpentine, sometimes humanoid, always beautiful and terrible. When he spoke, his voice came from everywhere at once. "Welcome, challengers. I am Nethys, last of the star dragons. You have come seeking the ancient vault. Many have tried before you. All have failed. All have died." Cathara stepped forward, her crystalline body ringing like bells. "We are not afraid, Dragon King. State your challenge." Nethys laughed, a sound like solar wind. "My challenge is simple. In this room is a lock. Open it, and the vault's location is yours. Fail, and you join the others." With a gesture, he revealed a pedestal in the center of the room. On it sat a sphere of the same black metal, covered in symbols that hurt to look at. Around the pedestal, Marcus now noticed, were statues. Hundreds of them. All different species, all frozen in poses of concentration or fear. "These are not statues," Nethys said, following Marcus's gaze. "They are the failed. Touch the lock. Fail to open it, and you become part of my collection. You have 1 hour to decide who among you will make the attempt. Choose wisely." The group erupted into arguments immediately. The warrior species wanted to use force. The intellectual species wanted to study the symbols first. The shapeshifters thought they could trick the lock. Marcus stayed quiet, watching and thinking. He noticed something the others didn't. While they argued, he studied the failed challengers turned to statues. Each one was touching the sphere with their dominant appendage hands. Tentacles, claws. But there was something else, a pattern in how they stood, in the expressions frozen on their faces. They all tried to take it. Marcus whispered to himself. "What did you say, human?" Flux had noticed him standing apart from the group. Marcus looked up at the shapeshifter. They all tried to take from the lock. Look at them. Every single one is grasping, pulling, demanding. What if that's not the answer? Flux laughed, a sound like bubbling mercury. And what would a primitive stable boy know of ancient technology? You still ride beasts for transportation. The insults stung, but Marcus had endured worse. On the colony ship, being the stable boy meant being at the bottom of the social ladder. He was used to being dismissed, but he was also used to watching, learning, understanding. Horses had taught him patience. They had taught him that sometimes the gentlest touch achieved what force could not. As the hour ticked by, the arguments grew more heated, alliances formed and broke. Two challengers even came to blows before the mechanical servants separated them. Marcus used the chaos to move closer to the pedestal, studying it from every angle. The symbols on the sphere weren't just random. They flowed, like water or wind. And beneath them, so faint he almost missed it, was a pulse, like a heartbeat, like something alive and waiting. Time, Nethys announced. Choose your champion. The group turned to Cathera. She was the strongest, the most experienced. Several species had military traditions spanning millennia. Surely, she would succeed where others had failed. But Cathara surprised them all. I will not attempt it, she said, her crystalline form dimming. I have seen enough. This is not a challenge of strength or knowledge. It is something else. And I do not understand what. Others stepped back as well. One by one, the greatest champions of their respective worlds admitted defeat before even trying. Finally, only 3 remained willing to make the attempt. Flux, a psychic being called Whisper, and Marcus. The shapeshifter should try, someone suggested. If it fails, it might survive in a different form. No, Flux said, suddenly uncertain. I can feel something from that sphere. It knows what I am. It's waiting for me to try to deceive it. The low tom. Whisper floated forward, its translucent form rippling. I will probe its mind, discover its secrets. No, Marcus stepped forward. Don't you see? That's exactly what it wants. It wants you to try to take from it, to force it, to trick it. Every single statue here tried the same thing. Then what do you suggest, stable boy? Nethys asked, and for the first time, there was something like interest in his voice. Marcus took a deep breath. Everything depended on this moment. His colony, his people, their future. But also, something more. A feeling that had been growing since he entered this place. The Dragon King wasn't evil. He was tired. Centuries of challengers, all failing, all trying to take what he protected. I suggest, Marcus said slowly, that we stop trying to take anything at all. The throne room fell silent at Marcus's words. Even the constant movement of stars around them seemed to slow. Nethys leaned forward, his form solidifying into something more dragon-like, with eyes that burned like newborn suns. Explain yourself, human child, the Dragon King commanded. Marcus walked slowly toward the pedestal, aware that every eye in the room followed him. His worn boots, patched with whatever materials the colony could spare, made soft sounds against the impossible floor. When he reached the circle of statues, he stopped and really looked at them. May I? He asked, gesturing toward one of the frozen figures. Nethys nodded. Marcus approached a statue of what might have been a bird-like creature. Its wings spread wide, talons extended toward the sphere. He touched it gently, and images flooded his mind. Not his own memories, but the last moments of this being. The desperate need for power, the certainty that force would work, the sudden terror as the transformation began. They're still alive, Marcus whispered, pulling his hand back. They're still aware. Yes, Nethys confirmed. They remain conscious. A reminder of the price of failure. Now, what will you do differently? Marcus turned back to the group. Where I come from, we have animals called horses. Beautiful creatures, strong and fast. But you can't force a horse to trust you. You can't trick it or overpower it. You have to earn its partnership. This is not an animal, Flux protested. This is ancient technology. Possibly the most advanced lock ever created. Is it? Marcus asked. He looked at Nethys. Or is it something more? The Dragon King said nothing, but his form shimmered with what might have been approval. Marcus continued. Every species here came with the same assumption. That this was a test of taking. But what if it's a test of giving? What if the lock doesn't need to be opened? What if it needs to be helped? Helped? Whisper's psychic voice echoed with confusion. How does one help a lock? Instead of answering, Marcus reached into his leather bag. The others tensed, expecting some hidden weapon or device. Instead, he pulled out something small and wrapped in cloth. Carefully, he unwrapped it, revealing a simple object that made several of the aliens step back in confusion. It was an apple. A real Earth apple. One of the last from the colony's struggling orchards. When I work with a frightened horse, Marcus said, I don't start by trying to ride it. I start by offering it something. A gift, freely given, with no expectation of return. He approached the pedestal. The sphere pulsed faster as he got closer, its black surface reflecting his face in distorted ways. The symbols swirled more quickly, almost eagerly. Marcus could feel the weight of centuries pressing down on him. All the failures, all the beings who had tried to take what they wanted by force. You're not just a lock, are you? Marcus spoke directly to the sphere. You're a guardian, a protector, and you're tired. Tired of beings who only want to use you, who see you as an obstacle to overcome rather than... He paused, searching for the right word, a friend to understand. Behind him, someone scoffed. The human has lost his mind. He speaks to it as if it lives. But Nethys raised a hand for silence. His burning eyes never left Marcus. Marcus placed the apple on the pedestal, next to the sphere but not touching it. This is from Earth, from my home. It's not much, but it's real. It grew from soil and rain and sunlight. It's life, offered freely. I don't want to take from you. I want to share with you. The sphere's pulsing slowed. The symbols stopped their frantic swirling and began to form patterns. Marcus watched, fascinated, as they arranged themselves into something almost like writing. Not any language he knew. But somehow, he understood the meaning. Asterisk lonely. So lonely. Centuries of guardianship. Centuries of greed. Asterisk. I know, Marcus said softly. I understand loneliness. On the colony ship, I spent most of my time with the horses. The other colonists thought I was strange, preferring animals to people. But the horses never judged me. They never saw me as just the stable boy. He sat down, cross-legged next to the pedestal, ignoring the gasps from the other challengers. To sit in the presence of the Dragon King, to show such vulnerability in this place of power, it was unthinkable. Tell me your story, Marcus said to the sphere. Not your secrets, not your purpose. Just who you are. I'd like to know. The sphere pulsed once, bright and warm. Then the symbols began to move again, but this time they projected into the air, forming images. Marcus saw the birth of a civilization among the stars, beings of pure energy who danced between galaxies. He saw them create wonders, including the ancient vault, a repository of all their knowledge and art. But he also saw their end. A war that burned across space and time, leaving only ashes and regret. The sphere, no, the guardian, Marcus corrected himself, was all that remained, the last witness to 1 billion years of history, programmed to protect the vault until someone worthy came along. But they never told you what worthy meant, did they? Marcus asked. So you've been waiting, testing, hoping, and everyone who came just wanted to use what you protected. No one ever asked about you. The Guardian pulsed agreement. Its surface began to change, the black metal warming to a deep bronze, then gold. The symbols reformed, showing more images. The Dragon King in his youth, finding the Guardian, his promise to help it complete its mission. The centuries of challengers, each one failing because they couldn't see past their own desires. Fascinating, Whisper murmured. It's not a lock at all. It's a consciousness, trapped in a physical form. Not trapped, Marcus corrected. Choosing to stay. Choosing to fulfill its purpose. Even though everyone it knew is gone. He stood up slowly. Just like you. Isn't it? He looked at Nethys. You're the last star dragon. You could go anywhere, do anything, but you stay here, helping the Guardian complete its mission. Nethys's form solidified completely for the first time. He was magnificent, scales of every color that existed, and some that didn't. Wings that could embrace galaxies. Eyes older than most stars. But in those eyes, Marcus saw the same loneliness he'd seen in the Guardian's symbols. No one has ever understood before, Nethys said. They see the challenge, the power, the prize. They never see the burden. Marcus picked up his apple and took a small bite, then offered it to the Guardian. Burdens are easier when shared. My grandmother used to say that. She was one of the colony ship's original settlers. She died still dreaming of Earth. But she said the dream was lighter, because she could share it with others. The Guardian pulsed, and a small portion of its surface opened, not a lock being forced, but a door being welcomed. Inside, Marcus could see light. Pure and beautiful. But he didn't reach for it. Instead, he placed the apple inside the opening. For you, he said. A gift from Earth. A promise that you're not alone anymore. The effect was immediate. The Guardian's entire surface transformed, the black metal becoming transparent crystal. Inside, Marcus could see not machinery, but something like a heart, beating with stellar fire. And around that heart, perfectly preserved, was every gift ever offered in friendship throughout its long existence. There weren't many a flower from a world now dust. A song crystallized in solid light. A child's toy from a species extinct for eons. And now, an apple from Earth. Oh, Cathara breathed, her warrior stance crumbling. We were all such fools. The Guardian opened fully, not because it had been unlocked, but because it chose to open. Inside was a star map, showing the location of the ancient vault, but also something more, thousands of other maps, other locations, other treasures. The Guardian hadn't been protecting just one vault. It had been protecting the legacy of an entire civilization. The test, Nethys said, his voice warm with something like pride, was never about opening the lock. It was about proving that someone, somewhere, still had the capacity to see beyond themselves, to offer friendship instead of demanding service, to give rather than take. Marcus felt tears on his face. All those statues, all those beings who failed, they're not dead? No, Nethys confirmed. And now, thanks to you, they don't have to remain frozen. The Guardian pulsed, and one by one, the statues began to move. Centuries of challengers, suddenly free, gasping and crying, and looking around in wonder. Some had been frozen for so long they'd forgotten how to move. Others immediately tried to flee, but all of them heard the Guardian's song, a melody of welcome, of second chances, of friendship offered freely. The vault's location is yours, Marcus of Earth, Nethys said formally. You have passed the test, not through strength or cunning, but through something far rarer, compassion. Marcus shook his head. Not just mine. It belongs to everyone. That's what the Guardian wants, isn't it? Not for one species to hoard its gifts, but for all to share in them. The Guardian pulsed joy, and Marcus understood he was right. This had never been about winning or losing. It had been about finding someone who understood that the greatest treasures weren't things to be owned but connections to be cherished. The throne room had transformed. Where once there had been cold metal and wheeling stars, now there was warmth and light. The freed challengers, some who had been statues for thousands of years, stood in groups, sharing their stories, marveling at their second chance. The Guardian floated free from its pedestal, no longer bound to one spot, its crystalline form dancing through the air like a joyful child. Marcus found himself at the center of it all, uncomfortable with the attention. Various beings approached him, speaking in languages his translator struggled to parse. But their meaning was clear gratitude, wonder, and something that might have been hope. "You realize what you've done?" Cathara asked, her crystalline form now glowing with soft warmth instead of harsh light. "You've not only freed us, but changed the nature of the test itself." Before Marcus could respond, Flux flowed into view, their form more stable than Marcus had ever seen it. "The human is right. Look around. Former enemies are talking. Species that have been at war for generations are sharing technologies, all because one stable boy thought to offer kindness instead of demanding power." Nethys descended from his throne, his massive form shrinking until he stood only slightly taller than Marcus. This close, Marcus could see that the Dragon King was ancient beyond measure. His scales marked with the scars of countless battles, his eyes holding the weight of eons. "Walk with me," Nethys said. And though it wasn't a command, Marcus followed. They left the throne room through a door that hadn't existed moments before, entering a garden that couldn't possibly fit within the fortress. Here, plants from a million worlds grew side by side, some bearing fruit, others singing in the wind, a few that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. "This was the Guardian's memory," Nethys explained, running a clawed hand over a tree with silver bark. "Every world it visited, it saved something. Not for conquest or study, but because it found them beautiful." Marcus touched a flower that felt like silk and chimed like bells. "How long were you waiting for someone to understand?" 3,000 years, Nethys admitted. "I found the Guardian dying in the void between galaxies. Its creators were gone. Its purpose seemingly failed, but when I touched it, I saw what you saw, not a tool or a weapon, but a being in pain." They walked in comfortable silence until they reached a grove where earth plants grew. Marcus recognized oak trees, rose bushes, even dandelions sprouting between alien grasses. His throat tightened. "The Guardian saved these from your homeworld's transmissions," Nethys explained. "Digital ghosts of things you thought lost. With the Vault's technology, you could bring them back. Real forests, real oceans. Your colony could have Earth again, or at least something close to it." "But that's not all the Vault contains, is it?" Marcus asked. "No." Nethys smiled, an expression that looked strange on his draconic features. "Weapons that could shatter stars. Medical knowledge to grant immortality. The power to reshape reality itself. This is why I couldn't let it fall into the wrong hands." Marcus nodded, understanding the burden. "But now everyone knows where it is. Won't they just fight over it?" "Perhaps," Nethys admitted. "But something remarkable is happening in my throne room. Come, see." They returned to find the freed challengers had organized themselves into groups, but not by species or alliance. Instead, they'd grouped by need. Those whose worlds faced environmental collapse spoke with others who'd survived similar crises. Warriors compared notes not on conquest but on protecting the innocent. Scientists shared theories across radically different ways of thinking. At the center of it all, the Guardian projected star maps and information, freely sharing what had been hoarded for millennia. But it was selective weapons were withheld from those who showed aggression. Medical knowledge flowed to those whose people suffered. And throughout it all, the Guardian sang its song of connection. "It's choosing," Marcus realized. "It's not just dumping information, but matching knowledge to need and wisdom. As its creators intended," Nethys confirmed. "They knew power without wisdom was destruction. So they created a Guardian who could judge not just strength, but character." Whisper floated over, their psychic presence warm with excitement. "The Guardian has agreed to create outposts on multiple worlds. Not to rule, but to teach, to connect. To ensure the knowledge is used wisely, it asks only one thing: that each world send teachers as well as students." "A university," Marcus breathed. "A galactic university where everyone teaches and everyone learns." "Led by you," Cathara said firmly. Marcus stepped back, shaking his head. "I'm just a stable boy. I don't know anything about running a university." "You know about connection," Flux argued. "About seeing the individual behind the role. About patience and kindness, and offering friendship without expecting return." These are the qualifications that matter. But Marcus continued to shake his head. I need to return to my colony. They're dying. I came here for them, and I can't abandon them for some grand adventure. Who says you have to? Nethys asked. He gestured, and the Guardian projected an image of Marcus's colony, the failing terraforming equipment, the struggling farms, the people trying so hard to survive on a world that didn't want them. Then the image changed. The Guardian overlaid plans not for massive machines or reality-warping technology but for simple, elegant solutions. Plants from other worlds that could thrive in the colony's soil and also enrich it. Atmospheric processors that worked with nature instead of against it. And most importantly, connections to other colonies facing similar challenges, creating a network of mutual support. Your people don't need saviors, Nethys said. They need partners. And you've just created the largest partnership in galactic history. Marcus felt tears on his face again. Through the Guardian's projection, he could see his fellow colonists, the council that had dismissed him as just a stable boy, the scientists who'd ignored his suggestions, the workers who'd shared their meager rations when times were hardest. They all deserved this chance. Will you help us? He asked the assembled beings. Not just my colony, but all the struggling worlds? Not with charity, but with exchange? We have little to offer but hard work and determination. But you have horses. The Guardian interrupted. Its voice like crystal chimes in everyone's mind. I have seen them in your memories, creatures of beauty and partnership. My creators had something similar, beings they called wind dancers. I thought them lost forever. Marcus laughed. Really laughed. For the first time since leaving his colony. You want horses? We can share horses. We only have a few dozen. But they breed true. Within a few years, wind dancers will run again beneath alien skies. The Guardian finished. A fair trade for saving a world, I think. The throne room erupted in offers. Every world had something unique. Something others needed. Not just technology or resources, but art, music, stories, dreams. The Guardian facilitated, translating not just languages but concepts, finding connections no one had imagined. So this is how it ends. Flux mused, watching the chaos of cooperation. Not with the strong taking from the weak, but with everyone finding strength in each other. No. Nethys corrected, his ancient eyes bright with something that might have been tears. This is how it begins. Over the following days, the fortress transformed into something unprecedented, a meeting place for the galaxy. Ships arrived hourly, as word spread. Some came seeking power, and were turned away by the Guardian's gentle but firm refusal. Others came offering help, and found themselves welcomed into an ever-growing alliance. Marcus spent his time moving between groups, translating needs into solutions. His experience with horses, reading nonverbal cues, understanding fear and trust, knowing when to push and when to wait, proved invaluable in bringing together species that had never successfully communicated before. The Guardian followed him often, its crystalline form shifting to match his movements. One evening, as Marcus stood on a balcony watching ships arrive from distant stars, it spoke to him privately. You gave me an apple, it said. Such a small thing. But in all my eons of existence, no one had ever given me anything without expecting something in return. It wasn't much, Marcus said, embarrassed. It was everything, the Guardian corrected. It reminded me why my creators built the vault. Not to hoard knowledge, but to preserve it until people were ready to share it wisely. You showed me that time had come. Nethys joined them, his massive form coiled around the balcony like a protective wall. My time as Guardian is ending. The Guardian no longer needs protection, it has friends. But I wonder, Marcus of Earth, what will you do now? Marcus thought about it. He could return to his colony as a hero, bringing salvation and power. He could stay here, helping to build this new alliance. He could travel the stars, seeing wonders he'd never imagined. All paths were open to him now. I think, he said slowly, I'll go home and teach people to ride horses. But I'll also teach them what I learned here. That strength isn't about taking but about giving. That the smallest gesture can change the universe. That everyone, even a stable boy, has something valuable to offer. And when your colony is saved, Nethys pressed. Marcus smiled. Then I'll teach others. The Guardian is right, this is just the beginning. There are so many worlds out there, so many beings who think they have nothing to offer. Someone needs to show them otherwise. A teacher. The Guardian mused. Yes. That fits. The first human teacher at the Galactic University. Your classes will be about more than horses, I think. Connection, Marcus said. I'll teach connection. How to see past differences to find common ground. How to offer trust before demanding it. How to build partnerships that last. As if in response to his words, a ship bearing his colony's markings appeared in the sky. They'd come for him, probably expecting to find his frozen statue and return home empty-handed. Instead, they'd find salvation and something more, a place in a larger community. Go, Nethys said. Greet your people. Show them what one stable boy can accomplish with kindness and courage. And Marcus? The Dragon King's eyes held warmth and approval. Thank you. For seeing not a test, but a cry for help. For offering not submission, but friendship. For reminding an old dragon that the universe still holds wonders. Marcus bowed deeply, then turned to the Guardian. Will you come with me? My people should meet you properly. The Guardian pulsed with joy. I would like to see these horses you speak of. And to taste more apples. Your gift will grow in my heart forever. But I find I'm curious about the tree that bore such fruit. Together, they went to meet the colony ship. Behind them, the great fortress continued its transformation, from a place of testing to a place of teaching. The Dragon King spread his wings and took to the skies for the first time in centuries. Free now to explore rather than guard. And across the galaxy, word spread of the human stable boy who'd done the impossible, not through strength or cunning, but through the simple act of sharing an apple with a lonely guardian. It became a symbol. That apple. Different worlds created their own versions of the story. But the core remained the same. Sometimes, the smallest act of kindness could unlock the greatest treasures. Years later, when Marcus was old and gray, still teaching at the university that had grown from that first meeting, students would ask him about that day. How had he known what to do? What had given him the courage to act so differently from everyone else? He would smile and tell them about horses, about patience, about learning to see the individual rather than the role. But mostly, he would tell them that he'd simply been himself a stable boy who knew that everything, even an ancient guardian, just wanted to be understood. And in the gardens of 1,000 worlds, apple trees grew, descendants of that first gift, reminding all who saw them that connection was the greatest power in the universe.